remember a couple weeks ago, you might have picked up the game Descent Underground for $2 from an Indie Gala bundle, and it came with a bunch of other games that you really didn't care about. This is one of them. This is Taimumari, and it's facing the Chair Acquisition. They're from TERNOX Games, built on GameMaker Studio. You can pick it up for around 5 units of your local space currency. And what is it? It's a retro-style platform game in keeping with the best traditions of games of our childhood. Take control of the Himari, a young female wizard traveling across various ages to settle the balance of in time across the whole world. Meaning it's a retro hipster pixel platformer, and that's it. And it faces the Chair Acquisition. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs means that it's amazeballs. We also got our categories Doom, Makes with the Working, Shiny Sands, Controls, and Food. So let's kick this off then. Did this game bring your system to a halt?
It almost did, Brad. It almost did over here with the Ubuntu 1404 LTS. 64-bit, 8150 AMD powered. NVIDIA 980 displayed. Well, powered, 4K displayed. Box of the business. It really ran without issue. There's no complaints to make other than I can't get on the latest beta drivers because of handbrake, so, I mean, Steam crashes, but it has nothing to do with this game. I'm going to give that 4 chairs out of the box, Oregon.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it to even go through my specs, considering you could probably run this game on a TI calculator.
You don't even need an operating system, didn't you?
You really don't. This thing will just run on the metal, so I'll give it 4 chairs on Fedora 22, 64-bit.
Yeah, and on Fedora 23, 64-bit with the FX 8370 and the GTX 970. It ran out of the box. Really? No complaints here for this specific category. 4 chairs.
Yeah, just completely curb stomped my Skylake processor. I got like maybe 2 frames a second out of it. That's 4 chairs for Mix with the Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds.
Okay, well, it is hipster pixel-tastic, fortunately on a scale to fugly to meh. It kind of leans towards the meh side. That's a pretty good thing. It's the best kind of meh you can expect from someone who has never played retro games on a 480i CRT. Allow me to give you Exhibit Fuck Mothering A. It's a diagram of sort. Maybe you might even call it a Venn diagram. This is what it originally looked like, and this is what millennials think pixel art should look like. Yeah. That's definitely a thing. That said, the sounds, they're about as legit as I've seen in a long time. So for what it's trying to be and what people actually consider, hipster pixel graphics, I mean, it does what it says on the tin. So I'm going to give that a solid 3 chairs.
I don't know. Like the graphics are just kind of there. I mean, if you look at a game like Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery, which basically uses an Atari 2600 aesthetic, that game is fucking beautiful. And this game is just kind of there. The sounds are kind of meh. They're your standard boop, beep, boop, boop, whatever 8-bit type sounds you'd expect from this sort of game. They're not terrible, but nothing really remarkable. So I'll have to give that 2 chairs.
Yeah, I can argue on that terrible bit. But yeah, I honestly can't give it 1 chair because the graphics, hipster pixely as they are, they're there. And the sounds, grating and ear stab inducing as they are, they do work as well. So I can't give it 1 chair, but I did mute both the music and the sound effects 5 minutes in because I could not fucking deal with it anymore. 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for the Shiny and the Sounds. Up next is the Controls, Ben.
Well, I picked it up with the Exclude controller and didn't have to do anything else. I mean, it worked. Everything was mapped properly. Going to have to ding in a chair, though, because that double jump, that's a bit of hit or miss, and absolutely at the worst times. But we'll get more into that during the fun section. So 3 chairs for controls.
Yeah, I played this primarily on the Steam controller, just because I didn't have any other controllers handy at the moment. Actually, no, I did try it with the PlayStation 4 controller, and I just didn't know what the fuck to do with it. The Xbox, or not the Xbox controller, the Steam controller requires a bit of fuckery in big picture mode to actually make this playable, because by default it uses this clicky pad for directional movement, and that just straight up does not work when you're trying to do precision platforming, so you have to remap it to the analog stick. I also remapped the right bumper to the trigger because otherwise I was just unable to hit the buttons. One little handy thing about the Steam controller is the rear grippy buttons are mapped to A and B, and when you're trying to execute really complex jump combinations, having the grippy button is awesome because it just uses you're using different muscles, so it's a little easier to execute. So I'll give that 3 chairs.
Yeah, that full controller support that they claim in their Steam page, and no cavats this time, that's just a fucking lie. The game very clearly detects both the NVIDIA Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. controller and the Logitech F310 that I have plugged into the Steam box over there. It detects them because it shows them on the options menu, and there's their full name right there, big bold fucking letters. And none of the buttons do anything. I don't mind platforming with a keyboard. I've gone on record as saying that before, but this game was very clearly meant to be played with a controller, and I can't.
It was meant to be played with this racing wheel, son.
I can't. So it gets 2 chairs because, again, on a technicality, I can't give it 1.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Control. And finally, our last category of the night, fun. Then, did you enjoy Taimumari? Moo.
Sit back and crack open a cold one. Giggity. In an age when I own 350 plus Linux games, it's easy to forget the days of the SNES Master. Well, not the SNES Master System's what I called it, because I had both. Fuck you all. Back then...
Oh, look at Mr. Rich Guy.
I know, I was rolling at it. Back then, you might only get 2 or 3 games a year, and, you played the ever-loving shite out of them, no matter the difficulty. I mean, what else were you going to do? Go outside? Question mark. Seriously? Hell. If Shadow Warriors, also known as, what was it?
Ninja Gaiden?
Exception.
Ninja something. If that...
Shinobi?
Ninja
Gaiden.
Was it Ninja Gaiden? Was that it?
Maybe.
Either way, if that was released today, it would actually be called Rage Bait. These days, if a game genuinely challenges the player, even on easy, it's often called Fuck You Hard for the sake of being Fuck You Hard trademark, usually by millennials who consider the latest wave of hand-holding hipster pixel bullshit retro gaming. I'm not saying rage platformers don't exist. Claire's a super meat for it because that's an actual rage platformer, but that was built from the ground up for that purpose. Tamagotchi, how do you say this? I'm just going to call it Tamagotchi. It's Fuck You Hard.
Go nuts.
For a different reason. Because it's poorly made. I mean, seriously, there's no knockback. I mean, the enemies can just run straight through you. That's irritating as piss. Double jump will spite fail, granted. Does keep things very interesting. And your protagonist is covered with crazy glue. And considering that there's chunks of levels, which is repeated constantly, where Object X is trying to squish you while you're trying to run YAR, sticking on random things, not being able to do anything about it, is a bit annoying. At the end of the day, you're fighting a poorly made game, but Flying Spaghetti Monster, help me. Beating a level is hella satisfying. In fact, I'm almost tempted to say at 4.99 wet stinky cash, it's a small price to pay for a game that made me wish my monitor Peace Among Worlds in celebration after I beat 2 levels. Bitches. So, for fun, I'm going to give this 3 chairs, mainly because of the price.
Yeah, I mean, this game, this from the second you start playing this game, you realize it borrows a lot from the classic Mega Man formula. I mean, it from like the way enemies are introduced to even like selecting your level to unlocking new abilities. It's all very much a Mega Man clone. The no knockback thing, I didn't really mind so much because a lot of enemies will just stop if you hit them. They won't necessarily fly back, but they'll stop whatever they're doing unless they're right in the middle of a cycle. And yeah, like I said in the control section, using the rear grip buttons actually makes this game a lot more playable just because it's a dynamic I'm not really used to, but I like it. I think I'm going to start using the Steam controller for a lot more platformers just by virtue of it. And then it turns into Tappy Chicken. Yeah, I know that you eventually get wings.
Yes, that one level that one time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, no, there's that one level for half of the entire freaking level after you get the wings. There's like a flight shmup segment, and then there's a Tappy Chicken segment. Mm-hmm. I don't know. My biggest gripe with the game is I like the platform mechanics. I actually like the grippy thing because it gives you multiple ways of moving around the level, which is something I like. It's a technique known as jacking your game. But there's not a lot of variety when it comes to the levels themselves. It's all just like, oh yeah, here's this one thing that you need to do, and here's a bunch of variations on it, repeated ad nauseum. And I feel like the platforming elements are really, really wasted in this. If the levels were longer and more diverse, I think I would have had a lot more fun with this. I can reliably make it to the bosses in basically every level, except I just don't feel any real desire to beat them. I have no strong feelings for this game one way or the other. I can see what it's trying to do. It does some things well, but ultimately it's just meh. And meh in Chairquisition equals 2.
Oh, look, it's another YouTube bait rage platformer. There is absolutely no skill involved with this game. All it takes is like 5% memory and 95% of trial and fucking error.
And how many bosses
After 10
did you
minutes... What?
How many bosses did you beat without no skill?
I got to all the bosses, but I didn't beat any of them because I couldn't fucking bother with it.
Sorry.
After 10 minutes of playing the game, I had my opinion set in stone, as it were. Yeah, get it? I only played...
You want to draw me a diagram?
Yes. I only played up to the 1 hour mark for
Jordan.
the sake of the chairs. Steam says that I played like over 100 minutes, but that's because I alt-tabbed out of the game and watched the YouTube video and I forgot that it was still running. This is one of those platformers that brings absolutely nothing new to the genre. It's literally regurgitating tropes and borrowing mechanics wholesale from other, much better games. Hell, it even, Jordan already mentioned this, at one point has a section that can only be described as a Flappy Bird segment. If you want me to care about your hipster pixel action platformer, you better do something different. Like Risk of Rain. Risk of Rain, that was a stupidly good game. Go play that instead, because Taimumari gets 1 chair.
All right, so that's 2 whole chairs for fun, and if we tally all that mess up, Taimumari gets 2 chairs, which is about what you should have paid for it when it was on sale through the Indie Gala bundle. But we've shat on this enough. Final thoughts?
I'm saying I liked it would be a bit much, but it has been a long time since I was genuinely challenged. Granted, I was challenged by the bugs and the fuckery of this game, but challenged nonetheless. And for me, whatever we spent like the £2 on that bundle to get it, but even at 5, what stinky goshers, there was that not snapping a controller, not doing anything I would have did in my youth, and by that I mean like 2 weeks ago. I thought it was kind of worth it.
Yeah, getting it through the bundle sort of excuses it, but $5? No fucking way. You'd have to pay me probably $500 to actually play this game to any sort of, to have any sort of commitment while playing it, because otherwise, no. Stay
That's
away
why
from it.
Nori loves him, because of his fear of commitment. Yeah, I mean, honestly, all I can say about this game is it needs to be better. It seems kind of half-assed in its level design.
I'm
like
just saying,
Tetris,
both of you would have continued playing if you were actually good enough to beat a boss.
I almost beat the
didn't
night
care.
boss, but it was after I died. It's like I don't want to have to go through that entire freaking thing again. It's tedious.
Yep.
And yeah, that's really what it is. It just devolves into tedium very, very quickly.